If you could travel, explore a new culture, and eat delicious food all while earning 18,000 euro a year more than your current salary, would you do it? When we think about improving our finances, we often jump to increasing our income. That means negotiating a raise, or starting a side hustle, or working a second job. But income is only one side of the equation. The other side is expenses. Reducing your expenses can have just as big an effect on your quality of life, if not more, as increasing your income. So let's talk about one thing that has a huge impact on your expenses: where you live. Hi, I'm Nicole van der Hoeven, and I've lived long-term in 5 countries over 4 continents. On this channel, I like to talk about different ways that I min-max my life, and usually that includes digital tools like Obsidian. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how I managed to decrease my cost of living, increase my quality of life, and even meet my husband, all by moving countries. This topic is extremely important and personal for me. I may only be talking about the financial side of moving countries, but being a multinational and having a life that is multicultural is something that permeates every aspect of my life. Just to give you some context, I was born in the Philippines. I studied university or college in the US. I moved to Australia and lived there with my husband. That's where I met him. And we moved 5 years ago to the Netherlands. Now, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've recently moved to Portugal, and that's country number 5. I, on my own initially, and then later on with my husband, have been able to increase our net worth significantly, even when you account for raises and salary that we've both experienced over the years. And the reason for that increase in net worth has been down to 2 things, both of which are because of moving countries. The first is lower taxes. Every country has a different taxation system, and some are more aggressive than others. Now, taxes on income could extend to taxes on your salary, or it could be dividends or investments in the country that you're living or overseas. They could be rental income, capital gains from selling property, for example, or even things like pension. So let's look at the situation of a hypothetical person who earns 100,000 euro a year. You can substitute dollars or whatever currency you'd like. I'm just choosing this figure because it's going to be nice and round, and that'll help us when we're calculating percentages later. I've got the 5 countries that I've lived in here. That's the Philippines, the US, Australia, the Netherlands, and Portugal. And this shows the take-home salary on an annual income of 100,000 euro a year. I will add a link to my sources in the description below so you can try out for yourself with more realistic numbers. Just for the sake of consistency and comparison, I've converted everything to euros. So in the Philippines, with an annual income of 100,000 euro, our hypothetical person would be able to take home 70,000 of that, and the same holds true for the US. Now in Australia, they'd be able to take home a little bit more at 72k, and the Netherlands and Portugal are lagging quite a bit behind at 60k and 54k a year. All of these figures are from the current financial year, and we can already see a big difference, with Portugal at 54k and Australia at 72,000 a year. That's a difference of 18,000 or 18%. To put things into perspective, that's about 1,500 euro a month more that you would get just by living in Australia compared to Portugal. Now, some of you might be wondering why I chose this particular trajectory when the taxes in Europe are so bad. Well, first of all, taxes aren't everything. I jumped at the chance to go to Europe because it was a different way of life and a chance to explore a new continent, and those things were foremost in my mind. However, I did still have to make sure that the move from Australia was financially feasible, and the way that I did that was by looking into tax arrangements. Tax arrangements are agreements between you and a country where they give you a bit of a preferential tax treatment if you come and live and spend in their country. Sometimes that happens because countries need professionals in certain fields, like soft engineering is usually on a list of these high value activities. In both the Netherlands and Portugal, that's the case. And in other cases for countries, they might do this because they want to stir up investment or other income generating opportunities for other people in the country.
Gaan we iets anders doen? Ze gaan een huis kopen. Nemen de sleutels?
Ja, we krijgen vandaag de sleutels
vandaag, ja.
van de makelaar. Dus
Wij vallen echte Nederlanders.
Ja, eigenlijk. En het is het begin van ons nieuwe leven. Ik kan niet wachten. Hopelijk gaat alles goed.
The idea is that it's a win-win. The person is able to perhaps migrate to a country that she might not have been able to afford to live in, and the country gets a working professional who is going to bring more business and more knowledge into the country. So with tax arrangements, the move to Europe doesn't look quite as bad. With a 30% ruling, which I used in the Netherlands, this bumps up the hypothetical take-home salary to 76,000. I'm hesitant to put a number here for the equivalent program in Portugal, which is the NHR or non-habitual residency program, just because I haven't fully discussed all of the options with my tax accountants yet. But you get the idea. Another way that moving abroad can improve your finances is by giving you a lower cost of living. Now, I've only been in Portugal all up for about 2 or 3 months, but I can already see that just general expenses, everything from rent to eating out to like utility bills, are already significantly less expensive than they were in the Netherlands. So, how do you move to another country? Well, there's so many ways to do it, but I'm just going to quickly go over some of the more established ways. Now, one of them is study. This is how I got into the US. Most of the countries will let you get on a student visa if you're going to be studying something in their country, and then they'll usually give you a little bit of time either during or after your studies to find a job. And at that point, perhaps you can find someone to sponsor you. Another way is through work. If you're already a professional with some years of experience in your field, you might have a good chance of working abroad. If you're younger and don't have quite as much experience, look into these work and study abroad programs that are so prevalent in countries like Australia and Canada. They're for young people to go and spend like a working holiday, and they're a great way to live somewhere else for a while. Another way is through family. Check your family trees and ask your relatives. Maybe there's one of them that has European citizenship or something like that. A lot of countries will give you citizenship if you can prove that you're the descendant of someone from that country. Or you could also do what I did. I got to Australia because I married my husband for love. I don't really recommend that as a repeatable way to move to another country, but it worked for me. And the last way is one that I haven't tried yet but would like to at some point, and that's residency and eventual citizenship by investment. That's when the country lets you stay, provided that you either buy a citizenship outright or buy property that you then live in. That might seem very luxurious, but if you do want to own a home, it could be kind of cool if that home came with a passport that let you travel freely or gave you freedoms that your current country doesn't give you. Something that I've thought of a lot when trying to decide how to structure my financial affairs is it ethical? Now, that's something that you're going to decide. Personally, I don't find anything wrong with paying for taxes. You'll notice I've never even tried to go for a full tax haven where you pay no taxes. And that's because I don't think taxes are evil. I just think that depending on the stage of life that you're in, that you may not necessarily be getting your money's worth. I'm in a part of my life where I can't even tell you the country that I'm going to end up settling down in, or what settling down will even look like, or when that will even be. So in my case, I would rather legally minimize the taxes that I'm paying for countries that I'm just passing through. I'm sure that'll change when I'm ready to settle down pretty permanently in a country. While this video has been all about money, I don't want to give you the impression that that should be your primary reason for moving overseas. My main reason is to travel, to see the world in a way that I probably wouldn't have been able to do with the Philippine passport. I think that there's something about long-term travel.
We just landed in St. Petersburg.
Being able to fully immerse yourself into a new culture. And living like a local rather than as a tourist that questions and challenges your beliefs like nothing else.
Arruinando nuestra vida, nuestra familia, nuestra juventud española.
And I totally recommend it. If you'd like to learn more about how to use geographical arbitrage to live more fully, check out this video that I made on flag theory. Ich hoffe, das Video hat euch gefallen. Thank you for watching. Tschüss!